Good afternoon. Could I please ask parties to get seated and to introduce their cards into the microphone so that we can see whether we have a quorum?
Do you have an example?
Sorry? Okay, parties, please. I would like to start this afternoon's work. We have a quorum, so as a first, we wanted to have a test vote. In Committee 2, they didn't have a test vote, they had a real vote, so we have been lucky not to have to vote, so we will have now a test vote. So you have all introduced your cards into the system, into the microphone, so that you should be able to vote. So if you are ready, I would like to ask a question, and the question is, upon which we will be voting. This is a vote to question whether the committee likes the ties of its chair. Okay? So if you think they are good, okay, you say yes. If you don't like him, you say no. If you don't care, you say abstain. Okay? This is going to be a normal vote. The delegation of the EU will note it, the vote for the European Union will be cast by the individual member states. And as it is on a procedural matter, we will have a simple majority. Okay? Is everything clear? I don't see anybody questioning it. So, parties, you have now 40 seconds. I have to ask if you are ready. Okay. Okay. It's important that everyone should be seated if we carry out a vote. So please get seated now. And no IGOs, NGOs are allowed within the area of parties. Okay? The Secretariat is checking on that. So if everyone is seated, we can then proceed to the vote. Okay. So, technically, are we ready? Good. So parties, you have now 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. So the vote is finished. So please, technicians, can you show the results of the vote on the screen? Thank you very much. Okay, you see, it's good to have a test like that so that we can really play it through, and I'm flattered. Thank you very much. Okay. New Zealand, are you asking for the floor?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Congratulations on your selection of ties. Just one point that I was a bit confused at when I looked up is that we had a green bar going across, counting down the time. And my first impression was, oh, that's the number of yes votes, and it could have been. But if some neutral colour, otherwise, if you see a whole lot of green going there, you might think, oh, everyone's saying yes, so I'll go yes as well. So a colour like blue that might be a little bit more neutral, if that can be done, I don't know.
Thank you, New Zealand. I like neutrality, so I will see if we can do something about that, but I see it's not possible. Okay, so apparently it's not possible, and I think we have had that already at several COPs that way, so I don't think we will be able to change that, but I will ask, okay? Good. Okay, before we start with this afternoon's agenda, the Secretariat has some housekeeping announcements to make. So, Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. There is a revision of document CoP20 Doc 13 on the website. I know it's something discussed in the other committee room, but just to also take note for those representatives that move between rooms, it's on the CITES strategic vision. It includes a recommendation in the recommendation section, the indicated to objective 1.4.1, agreed by SC77, that was omitted. So if you are moving between the two rooms and responsible for that document, please have a look. And then the Credentials Committee will meet this afternoon in Lawn Orchard Room at 5 o'clock, immediately after this session. And then I think that's it. I hope everyone can access the Russian channel for interpretation that is available on the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. So with this, we can now go to this afternoon's agenda, which starts with the document COP20, Doc 100, which is Trade in Medicinal and Aromatic Plant Species. So I would invite the committee to indicate if there is support for the draft decision in the annex to the document, and if there are views on the Secretariat's proposed amendments taking into consideration the study made available in information document COP20 Inf 1, and to agree to the deletion of the decisions 19261 and 19264. So I open the floor for comments. I see the United States. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States supports the document's recommendations and the draft decisions as amended by the Secretariat. We propose a clarification to Decision 20BB to request the committee's review of the report to help inform implementation of 20AA paragraphs B and C. And with your indulgence, I would read that. It's just an insertion. So to the decision directed to the Plants Committee 20BB in paragraph A, following the words submitted by the Secretariat, we would insert and provide guidance to inform the implementation of paragraphs B and C, and then it would continue as written in accordance with Decision 20AA. We felt that as written, it only had the Plants Committee informing paragraph A, and we felt B and C should be informed as well. And lastly, we agree that the decisions 19.261 to 19.264 can be deleted. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. Can you please repeat your edit again?
Sure. So this is to the draft decision as revised by the Secretariat. Decision 20BB directed to the Plants Committee, paragraph A, and it reads currently as amended by the Secretariat, review the report submitted by the Secretariat. We would add and provide guidance to inform the implementation of paragraphs B and C in accordance with Decision 20.AA. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we got that. I see now India. India has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India thanks the Standing Committee for the CoP20 Document 100, Trade in Medicinal and Aromatic Plant Species. India supports the adoption of the new draft decision 20.AA, 20.CC, subject to safeguards ensuring that interrogation with the MPNS is advisory, not mandatory, until the validation and standardizations are jointly developed and adequate capacity building and funding supports are ensured for developing countries, and that any database harmonization recognizes Indian vernacular and Ayurvedic nomenclature system. India wishes to emphasize that any study database or trade facilitation mechanism must include fair and equitable benefit sharing for local and indigenous communities. Traditional knowledge documentation should not be used for trade monitoring without prior informed consent and mutually agreed terms. India also suggests the following additions to the draft decision on trade in medicinal and aromatic plant species contained in Annexure to the CoP20 Document 100. After draft decision, paragraph D of draft decision 20AA, add the following draft decision. C. Ensure coherence between CITES MAP measures and National Biodiversity Law implementing the CBD and Nagoya Protocol. After draft decision 20CC, add the following draft decision. Collaborate with the national and regional centers of excellence on medicinal and aromatic plants to develop scientifically robust, non-determined finding and trade monitoring system. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. India, you are way too fast for me. So can you please repeat these, add these additional decisions slowly so that me and the Secretariat are able to catch them, please?
Yes. India also suggests the following additions to the draft decision on trade in medicinal and aromatic plant species contained in the annex to the CoP20 Document 100. After draft decision paragraph D of draft decision 20AA, please add the following draft decision. That is, ensure coherence between CITES MAP measures and National Biodiversity Law implementing the CBD and Nagoya Protocol. After draft decision 20CC, please add the following draft decision. 20DD, the parties are encouraged to collaborate with the national and regional centers of excellence on medicinal and aromatic plants to develop scientifically robust, non-determined finding and trade monitoring system. Thank you, sir.
Sorry, India. Can you just mention the new decisions once again, and please really slowly? Thank you.
After draft decision, paragraph D of draft decision 20AA, add the following draft decision. Ensure coherence between CITES MAP measures and National Biodiversity Law implementing the CBD and Nagoya Protocol. After draft decision 20CC, please add the draft decision 20DD as the parties are encouraged to collaborate with national and regional centers of excellence on medicinal and aromatic plants to develop scientifically robust, non-determinal findings and trade monitoring system. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, India. India, thank you very much for these suggested new decisions. I do think these two new decisions, they are not directed to the Secretariat. I think they are directed to the parties. So I do think we will need to have a new decision directed to the parties containing your two suggested edits. Because what you are asking is parties to do the work you are suggesting. So I think we will need to have a new decision 20DD with these two things to do. So that's what we will be looking at now during the discussion. So now I have the United States of America. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry to take the floor again, but we would like to suggest that it is important to keep the work of CITES focused on its core mandate. Therefore, we would oppose the additional decisions suggested by India. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now I open the floor for Tanzania. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United Republic of Tanzania adopts the draft decision on trade in medicinal and aromatic plant species contained in the annex to the present document prepared by the Standing Committee. We recommend to the Secretariat to share the final report with the Member States when ready to inform conservation stakeholders. Furthermore, the United Republic of Tanzania also supports the deletion of decision 19.261 to 19.264. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tanzania. I now see Canada. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada supports the draft decisions as amended by the Secretariat in this document as well as the proposed addition to the decision from the United States. With regard to Decision 20AA, subparagraph C, to implement cross-references between CITES databases and the medicinal plant names, services for CITES-listed maps, Canada would simply like to ensure that there is a common understanding of what cross-reference means. From our reading of paragraphs 7 and 8 of Addendum PC 26, Doc 34 Addendum, and of the summary record from that meeting, we do not interpret a cross-reference to imply any kind of integration to the medicinal plant name service database into the CITES databases. Our understanding, of the phrase implement cross-references is that new generalized text would appear when a medicinal or an aromatic plant species is queried in a CITES database. Thank you.
We will come back to your interpretation in just a minute. So in the meantime, I see Cameroon. Cameroon, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Cameroun estime que ce document peut être à confusion au niveau de son titre, parce que ce que nous, on entend ici par plantes médicinales et aromatiques, nous devons nous rassurer si ce sont les spécimens de plantes ou les plantes elles-mêmes. Et si c'est le cas, automatiquement, les projets de décision qui sont proposés 2020A devraient avoir une relecture globale. Parce que chez nous, les spécimens de certaines plantes peuvent être la graine, ou c'est ça qu'on appelle la plante, ou l'écorce, ou la feuille, ou les hydras. Qu'est-ce qu'on entend parler par plante ici? Une telle réexplication, Monsieur le Président, nécessairement va entraîner une réécriture des projets de décision 20AA et 20B. Je vous remercie.
Well, Cameroon, if I understand the definition of specimens correctly, it is live plants, but also all parts. So if we speak about specimens of aromatic plants, it's the whole plant, it's the seeds, it's parts. So I think that's, if I understood you correctly, you wanted to have a clarification of what is meant by medicinal aromatic plants, right?
Merci, Monsieur le Président. C'est bien cela, parce que la compréhension de plante se dissocie nécessairement du spécimen de la plante. Nous avons pour certains arbres l'écorce. Est-ce que c'est de ça qu'il s'agit? Nous avons pour certaines espèces la graine qui circule dans le marché, qui est pour nous un élément aromatique ou un élément médicinal. De quoi il est question ici? De la plante elle-même ou de son spécimen? Je vous remercie.
Well, the way I understood it, it depends. That there are instances where the whole plant is used. There are instances where only the bark is being used for medicinal purposes. So it depends on a case-by-case basis what is being understood exactly for that species in question, for that trait in question. Yes, Cameroon?
Oui, Monsieur le Président, je pense que nous n'allons pas faire un dialogue, mais je pense quand même que quand c'est un spécimen, élaborer un avis de commerce non préjudiciable différencie est différent que d'élaborer un avis de commerce non préjudiciable pour une plante. Donc, c'est deux approches bien différentes au niveau scientifique, au niveau technique. Donc, il faut bien que nous soyons précis ici de quel produit il s'agit, si nous sommes dans le commerce. De quoi on parle? Si c'est l'écorce, qu'on se rende compte que c'est l'écorce, et là vous vous rendez compte qu'il faut un élément, il faut des précisions additionnelles dans le document qui est devant nous.
Cameroon, the way I understood the document, it is about names, species names. So which species are used in the trade of aromatic plant medicinal and aromatic plant species? What species are being used, irrespective of whether it is the whole plant or a seed or the bark that is being used. It's really about merging databases of species names and not the products. That's the way I understood. Maybe people from the plants committee can help us here and maybe explain, because I wasn't in the plants committee to discuss this matter. So it's the way I understand it, it is the merging of databases of species names. But maybe I'm wrong. But then I would need somebody from Plants Committee who is maybe here to help me. Yes, I see Switzerland.
Thank you, Chair. I was chairing this group, Medicinal and Aromatic Plants, and it was, like you said and explained, was a discussion about renaming this resolution we wanted to create. So what we wanted is exactly what you say. So it's not about what you use from a plant, it's about the species. And that can be species, and then you use the grain, you use the extract, whatever. So it's what meant to be with this title. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Switzerland. I think that should clarify what we are talking about. Thank you very much. So now I open the floor to Brazil. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Brazil believes that we should be very careful not to use CITES decisions to evade international obligation in other international agreements, especially those that regulates access and benefit sharing of genetic resources. Thus, we fully agree with the suggestion made by India, especially in the first suggestion they made. And I would like to ask that this intervention should be registered in the minutes of this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brazil. We will make sure that this is reflected in the minutes as you asked. So I see now China. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. China appreciates the effort made by all parties to promote the issue of trade in medicinal and aromatic plants. China supports strengthening the sustainable trade management of MAPs under the CITES framework. We believe that the study soon to be completed by the Secretariat is scientific cornerstone for all subsequent actions. Regarding the integration of the MPNS database, we prefer it to be used as an independent recommended source of information accompanied by clear disclaimers to avoid potential enforcement confusion. At the same time, it is essential to reflect the synergies with the Convention on Biological Diversity and its Nagoya Protocol, ensuring that access to genetic resources and related traditional knowledge and benefit sharing are fully respected. This approach is consistent with the goals of the Kunming-Montreal Biodiversity Framework and the CITES strategy vision. To this end, considering Indian proposal, we agree with your observation. Some words from India may need revisions and put to right paragraph or a new decision to highlight the need of the synergy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, China. Now I have Switzerland. You have the floor.
Sorry, Chair, to coming back. We discussed this issue as well. I think Brazil brought that into the working group, and we agreed at that time that it wouldn't be the place to put that in. So I think Mexico explained very clearly that it's the wrong place because it was meant to be in the resolution. So I think it's just not the right place to put that in. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Switzerland. Any other party wishing to take the floor on this matter? Okay, now I open the floor to AGOs and NGOs. You have the floor. You can press the button. I see traffic. Traffic, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. This intervention is made on behalf of Traffic and the IUCN Medicinal Plant Specialist Group. Over 39,000 medicinal and aromatic plant species are used globally, with over 1,500 listed on CITES appendices. Their trade is varied, complex, spans many products and trading partners, and supports millions of livelihoods. This contribution to conserving health, heritage and livelihoods is recognized by CITES Secretariat as a theme of World Wildlife Day 2026. Traffic welcomes Document 100 and fully supports the draft decisions. In 2024, with the CITES Secretariat and the Royal Botanic Garden Kew, Traffic produced an updated study on CITES-listed medicinal and aromatic plants, analyzing trade, supply chains, and nomenclature challenges. Now published as Information Document 1, it aims to guide parties developing a new CITES resolution on species. Given the scale of trade and the level of threat from unsustainable trade, strong CITES implementation is vital for legal and sustainable use, as well as livelihoods. We stand ready to support parties and partners in this work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Traffic. I now have UNEP WCMC. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. UNEP WCMC would be happy to engage with the Secretariat and the nomenclature specialist of the Plants Committee on the nomenclature discrepancies identified as part of the study, as proposed in Decision 20 AAB. We'd like to notify the parties that an information document will be submitted to the Secretariat containing an overview of the data management approaches used by WCMC in managing the nomenclature within the CITES checklist. This document could be used as a basis for further discussion on the reported discrepancies. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, UNEP WCMC. I see no more interveners. I see the United States. United States, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm sorry to take the microphone again, but I would like to follow up this discussion to say that there was still a lot of uncertainty after this intersession, and the study has yet to be reviewed by the Plants Committee, which is why I felt it was important. We felt that it was important that the Plants Committee inform paragraphs, the implementation of paragraphs B and C, because we are not fully informed yet on what the study showed. And so, you know, a lot of discussion has happened. There are just several documents from Plants Committee 26 and 27 that we're supposed to continue to keep into consideration, including China's intervention about a disclaimer that if it's connected to our website, that it's not a database that is managed by CITES. And as well as we also share the concerns that Canada mentioned about what do they mean by a cross-reference. So I think there's still lots to discuss under this item, and we thought maybe that's something that we could discuss in the next intersession. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. With regard to Canada's intervention, I would give the floor to the Secretariat to explain how this is being done, that cross-reference or whatever.
Thank you, Chair. In discussions with UNEP WCMC, it's our understanding that the species that are also reflected in the MPNS database that are currently in the annex to the study will have a tag that will then alert parties to go and visit the MPNS database. And the Secretariat also understood that the Plants Committee already requested that the disclaimer be applied to a tag or any cross-reference between the databases because we don't have any oversight of the MPNS database. So I just wanted to highlight that these issues have been discussed, and that is how we understood to proceed should the decisions be adopted. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have general agreement on the decisions 20AA and 20BB with the addition of the United States. And we now have these and also 20CC, but we have also now the decisions proposed by India. And there I haven't heard enough to make a decision here. If I read the decisions that India has proposed, I think it's quite different to what the other decisions aim to do, because these other decisions, A, B, and C, they are a process to look at how do we deal with these databases, whilst the decisions proposed by India are something different. They do not really deal with these issues that the other decisions deal with. So I don't quite understand the rationale for these additional decisions DD. But I would open the floor for any comments or ways forward on these two decisions submitted by India. India, if we look at the decisions as they were, so in particular, if we look at the decision 20BB, where the Plans Committee shall continue to consider the draft resolution on medicinal and aromatic plants contained in the annex, including taking into account the report. I think what I would suggest is that in that decision itself, you can introduce things that should be looked at when this resolution is being discussed, and there you could, in the resolution, introduce what parties should be doing. For instance, liaising between centers of excellence, or ensuring coherence between CITES and CBD. I think that's where these aspects should go into, because then it's in the resolution and parties would then be requested to do these things. Here, I think it is premature to separate them out. I see the European Union. You have the floor.
Should I push again? Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the European Union and their member states, and we just want to support the view of the Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. Can I maybe ask India or Brazil if they could agree on such a way forward? I see you, Brazil. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We are flexible with regard to that. The most important thing is just to highlight the importance of taking into account the obligations of other international commitments, and I think your suggestion can contemplate that. Thank you.
Okay, so my conclusion would in that case be that the Committee 1 agrees on the draft decision as amended by the Secretariat and amended by the United States, the amendments by the United States on decision 20BB. Letter A, after review the report submitted by the Secretariat and provide guidance to inform the implementation of paragraphs B and C, and also agree on decision DD. No, old CC, yes, right. The committee also notes the comments made by India and Brazil, and invites them to introduce their views in the discussions under resolution under decision 20BB letter B. And the committee also agrees to delete decisions 19261 to 19264. Okay, so that's my conclusion. Thank you very much. So we move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item CoP20 Doc 93, agarwood producing taxa. Here we would invite parties to indicate if they support the proposed amendment to the resolution as contained in the annex to the document, including the glossary that is an annex to this resolution. Also agree to the deletion of the decisions 19239 and 19240. So I open the floor for any comments. I see India. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India thanks the Standing Committee for the COP20 Doc 93, agarwood producing taxa. India supports the draft amendments to Resolution Conference 16.10 on the implementation of the Convention for Agarwood Producing Taxa contained in the annex to the document COP20 Doc 83. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, India. And now turn to the United States. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. While the United States supports the proposed substantive amendments to the resolution, we have identified a small number of additional edits necessary to clarify that the resolution language is not legally binding. We recognize some of this text already occurs in the current non-binding resolution and that the resolution will be non-binding, but this is an opportunity to clarify the text in the resolution long term. We suggest the following editorial changes. Operative paragraph 1, page 5 in the English version, document 93. Replace agrees with decides. Operative paragraph 3, also on page 5 in the English version. Replace shall with to be interpreted. Operative paragraph 4, replacing agrees with decides. Two small changes in operative paragraph 5. The first, again, replacing agrees with decides. The second change in paragraph 5 is to delete the first instance of in accordance with and insert its place consistent with, excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you, United States, for these suggested amendments. I now see Malaysia. Malaysia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Malaysia would like to thank the Standing Committee for preparing this document. Malaysia has been actively involved in the International Working Group for the past 2 years. Malaysia continues to strengthen the management of key CITES listed species such as Aquilera species through science-based non-detriment findings, improved monitoring, and closer cooperation with local communities. We have also enhanced enforcement efforts and cross-border collaboration to address illegal collection and trade. Thus, Malaysia supports the amendments to Resolution 16.10 on implementation of the Convention of Agarwood Producing Taxa and the deletion decisions 19.239 and 19.240. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Malaysia. I see China. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. China supports the recommendation in paragraph 11 on adopting the amendments to Resolution Conference 1610 and Delecting Decision 19236. This work successfully addressed key implementation challenges through careful consideration and relevant resolution. and documents. It acknowledges the diversity of agri-wood production system while respecting range-based management approaches. The amendments provide crucial clarification on artificially propagate application and assisted production definition achieved through inclusive discussions that incorporated diverse parties' perspectives. China believes that these amendments, particularly the comprehensive glossary, will significantly facilitate implementation and enhance conservation efforts. We therefore urge all parties to support these amendments. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, China, for your support. I would like now open the floor for IGOs and NGOs. I don't see anybody asking for the floor. We have heard some amendments in the resolution text by the United States. I haven't heard yet any additional support for those amendments. So I would like to hear from parties whether they can agree to these amendments, to the softening of the language of this resolution. So I'm seeking support for these amendments. Having heard no support for these amendments, my conclusion is that the Committee 1 accepts the amendments to Resolution Conf 16.10 on the implementation of the Convention for Agri-Wood Producing Taxa contained in the annex to the present document and delete decisions 19239 and 19240. Okay. With this, we conclude the deliberations on CoP20 Doc 93, and we move on to the next agenda item, which is CoP20 Doc 94 on Boswellia trees. The committee is invited to indicate if they support the draft decision in the annex to the document and their views on the Secretariat's proposed amendments. So I open the floor for comments. I see Switzerland. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Switzerland welcomes document CoP20 Doc 94 on Boswellia trees and appreciates the attention this issue has received from the Secretariat, the Plants Committee and CITES parties. We also acknowledge the extensive work undertaken by the Royal Botanic Garden Edinburgh, supported by the Swiss government as outlined in the information document number 28. This research has substantially advanced our understanding of Boswellia taxonomy, distribution, trade and conservation status, and provides a strong scientific foundation for future policy discussions. However, Switzerland is concerned that the draft decisions as amended by the Secretariat place the majority of responsibility for future work on Boswellia upon the range states. Many range states currently face severe capacity constraints, fragmented governance, and in some cases ongoing conflicts that limits their ability to implement complex research, monitoring, or regulatory activities. Similarly, we recognize that the Secretariat has limited capacity to lead technical work on non-listed species, given its existing workload and resource limitations. We therefore support a revised, more balanced set of draft decisions which distribute responsibilities more equitably among range states, importing countries, industry and other partners. In particular, we support a role for the Secretariat focused on facilitating and coordination rather than implementation, and encourage importing and transit parties, NGOs and IGOs, scientific institutions, commercial traders and industry associations to share responsibility for funding, data gathering, technical support and capacity building. This collaborative approach reflects the spirit of the Convention and offers the best chance of achieving meaningful progress on the conservation and sustainable use of Boswellia species. We hope there will be broad support to enable this important work to continue. Trade in gums and resins is expanding rapidly, both in scale and in the diversity of species entering international markets. As pressures increase, similar concerns are likely to arise for other resin-producing taxa. Advancing work on Boswellia now offers a crucial opportunity to establish clear science-based protocols and collaborative mechanisms that can serve as a model for future CITES engagement with other gums and resins in trade. So several parties have proposed significant amendments to the Secretariat's draft decisions. Given the scale and significance of these changes, it would be advisable to form a drafting group with active participation from the range states to ensure their priorities are fully reflected. The EU-Ireland could read out key sections of the revised draft to support the discussion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Switzerland. Before striking a drafting group, I would like to hear some more information on these changes. But I will come back to the European Union. But first, I have several parties who also have asked the floor. So I would like to ask India to take the floor. India.
Thank you, Chair. India thanks the Plan Committee for the CoP20 Doc 94. India wishes to note that all commercially traded Boswellia species are facing identical threats, and there exists a substantial degree of diversity in socio-economic, political, and ecological context. Chair, a species being in trade is not the same as being threatened by trade. In recent IUCN assessment, Boswellia serrata is treated as least concern. Its occurrence was previously reported from Sri Lanka without strong evidence, and hence it is considered erroneous by the 2025 IUCN assessment. Except for a few localized cases of habitat degradation from livestock, overgrazing, forest fires, and landslides, there are no significant threats impacting the population. It has an extent of occurrence of more than 17 lakh square kilometers. The population data of Boswellia serrata collected during 2020 revealed that a large population exists in different forest divisions of states in India. The current assessment, based on more than 100 localities published on IUCN website in 2025, clearly justifies India's claim that it should not be placed in any appendices of CITES. India also wishes to highlight that large number of rural population residing in fringe area villages are engaged in the harvest of oleoresin, and it is important forest-based livelihood generating option. Different states have adopted measures for the sustainable harvesting of produce. The method of tapping Boswellia serrata is sustainable and does not impact the vitality of the tree. Considering these aspects, India is supportive of the concept of consultation workshop, and most of the proposed amendment of the draft decision 20WW and 20XX to combine this decision into one draft decisions directed to range states of Boswellia species. But India not suppose the inclusion of the least concern Boswellia serrata in Appendix 3. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, India. I see United Arab Emirates.
Thank you, Chair. The United Arab Emirates recognizes the ecological and cultural importance of Boswellia species, which have been used for centuries across the region as an integral part of our heritage, trade, and traditional practices. We commend the Plants Committee and the Working Group for their efforts to improve the understanding of Boswellia conservation and trade. The UAE supports a science-based understanding of the species conservation of the species and collaborative approach that enables sustainable management while respecting the long-standing traditions and livelihood tied to it. We agree that coordination among range state research institutions and industry partners is essential. However, we emphasize that the focus should remain on voluntary cooperation, capacity building, and data sharing without introducing new compliance burdens or premature listing proposals. The UAE supports the Secretariat's recommendation that the range states lead in organizing discussions and meetings supported by external funding and international corporations. We also highlight the importance of involving the private sector and the fragrance industry to ensure traceable, sustainable, and fair trade in products. With these considerations, the UAE is pleased to support the adoption of the draft decisions on Boswellia species subject to the refinements proposed by the Secretariat. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I would like to give the floor to the European Union. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And on behalf of the EU and its member states, we acknowledge the work done by Switzerland, UAE, and India in this regard. We acknowledge the Secretariat's amended decisions to need to limit the workload and responsibilities of the Secretariat. However, we would prefer to support the decisions that would keep the original aims and rationale of the PC recommendations and the intersessional working group while limiting the Secretariat involvement to the appropriate level. As such, we would not support the Secretariat's merged amendments to draft decision 20WW and 20XX to direct this draft decision to a meeting of Boswellia species range states only. We're very open to discussing and amending the text of the draft decisions to limit the Secretariat's involvement to the appropriate level, and we support Switzerland in suggesting the small drafting group to develop decisions which balance the responsibility between the range states, importing countries, industry, NGOs, etc., including the financing and organising. Some of the changes we would suggest in a draft decision is that the Secretariat should be tasked to send a notification to the parties and stakeholders to invite them to organise an in-person meeting on Boswellia, which should be organised by the parties, and the Secretariat would draft a short summary report of the meeting on the activities and relating to Boswellia for consideration to the Plants Committee, the Standing Committee and the COP. It is our view that it's important for the work done so far is kept within the frameworks and procedures of CITES, which can only be guaranteed by clear involvement of the Secretariat. Our other decisions that we would suggest would be directed to range states, other parties, NGOs, stakeholders to host and organise the meeting subject to external funding. I think the establishment of a drafting group here would facilitate the work on establishing and elaborating details of new draft decisions directed to the Secretariat, range states and other parties, NGOs, industry and other stakeholders, as well as to the relevant CITES committees. And we would welcome this drafting group to be formed here. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. I see Kenya.
Thank you, Chair. Kenya is a range state for Boswellia, and we have ongoing national initiatives to address concerns regarding its conservation and management. We've also submitted information as requested through notifications, and of particular concern to Kenya are issues of gaps in knowledge, issues of look-alike and sustainable harvesting for international trade, and more so for communities that depend on this species for their livelihoods. We've also provided further information to the consultant who was commissioned to undertake additional research on the specific aspects of the decision. And we welcome the call to review available information submitted by the Secretariat to identify gaps and to inform possible listing of proposals of Boswellia of concern, including the fate of the communities who depend on these species. We also support convening of an all-inclusive Boswellia meeting, which will enable players to exchange information for collective sustainable management of Boswellia species in all range states. Kenya therefore supports the adoption of the draft decisions on Boswellia species contained in the annex to the present document and as amended by the Secretariat. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kenya. I now open the floor to Tanzania.
Thank you, Chair. The United Republic of Tanzania adopts the draft decision on Boswellia species contained in the annex to the present document. The United Republic of Tanzania requests for the CITES Secretariat, in collaboration with the Boswellia species range states, to coordinate capacity building on non-detrimental findings development and identification technologies on Boswellia products which are ready for trade. The United Republic of Tanzania supports the recommendation to delete decision 19241 and 19242. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tanzania. I open the floor for Canada.
Thank you, Chair. Canada wishes to thank the Plants Committee's Intersessional Working Group for the review and suggestions. We believe the workload for the Secretariat in organizing this meeting is too large for what is currently an unlisted species, and for this reason, we agree with the Secretariat's proposed edits to the draft decisions. However, we wish to note strong concern with decision 20.yy, which would direct the Plants Committee to recommend whether these certain species of Boswellia for possible listing in the appendices. This exceeds the mandate and purpose of the scientific committees. The responsibility to assess and propose species listings should remain solely with parties to the convention. Therefore, we recommend replacing draft decision 20YYB with the text, consider the Boswellia meeting outputs, which would delete this mandate to recommend species, and to delete section D, where the Plants Committee provides recommendations to the COP. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I see Oman. Oman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Regarding CoP20 document 94, we thank the Plant Committee for the preparing of this document. Sultanate of Oman appreciated the work done so far for gathering the information about the Boswellia trees. In this regard, we would like to emphasize that the situation of Boswellia sacra is not threatened in Oman, as this species is well managed and there are systems and procedure for harvesting and collecting of the resin. Therefore, we do not see that this species should be included in the CITES appendices. Also, we believe that the situation of Boswellia trees in each ring state should be considered separately, and that they should not be included at the genus level, but rather at the species level, due to the difference in conservation, protection, and international trade effort from one country to another. And regarding the draft decision, we suggest the deletion of paragraph C in the 20XX. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Oman. I have the UK. UK, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United Kingdom supports comments by Switzerland and the EU and agrees further discussion in an in-person meeting with range states are needed before any potential Boswellia species listing. We agree that the decisions need to be revised to reduce the workload of the Secretariat and support having a drafting group to edit the decisions so that range states could be assisted by other parties and interested organisations to organise the in-person meeting and to consider Canada's edits to 20YY Part little b. We believe with the length of the decisions, it's difficult to make edits on the floor, and a drafting group, including range states, is appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, UK. I think we will end up with this way forward. So I will now give the floor to Qatar. Qatar, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We just agree with the United Arab Emirates. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Qatar. I see Uganda.
Thank you very much, Chair. Uganda is a range state with respect to Boswellia, at least some of the species. And we do thank the effort into preparation of the draft decisions. We are willing to make a contribution during the in-person meeting so that we can come up with a framework to regulate the trade and use into these species of Boswellia. And we are willing to render effort in that area whenever we are ready. So we are in support. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Uganda. United States.
Thank you, Chair. The United States is pleased to hear the continued support of range states of this work, and we fully support their efforts to explore, share information, and address knowledge gaps. We do agree, though, that the large number of amendments that were made to the draft decision might need a little bit of work. For instance, I'm not sure range states should approach or are equipped to approach the World Customs Organization to request a Boswellia harmonized code. So there might be some tweaks that we could put into the draft decisions to make sure that it's the tasks are appropriately sorted out. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. I see Pakistan. Pakistan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Pakistan, as a range state for Boswellia species, is pleased to express its strong support for this draft document. Boswellia serrata occurs in Pakistan, particularly in the province of Punjab, which is currently undertaking extensive field surveys and detailed profiling of this species to better understand its population status, harvesting practices, and trade dynamics. These efforts align closely with the objectives outlined in the proposed decisions. Pakistan also notes that Commiphora whitei, which is being proposed for listing in Appendix 2, is closely related to Boswellia, as both belong to the same taxonomic family, Burseraceae. Both genera comprise trees and shrub species that produce aromatic oleogum resins. Regarding concerns raised that these species are widely distributed in India and Oman, Pakistan wishes to clarify that the proposal calls for initial studies and assessments, including population surveys, trade monitoring, and management evaluations. Based on the results of these studies, the need for a potential listing on an appendix will then be considered, ensuring that any decision is grounded in scientific evidence and sustainable management practices. Pakistan also wishes to formally convey its willingness to host the range states meeting envisaged under Decision 20 WWA with external support and guidance of the Secretariat and the Plants Committee. We further support the decision on developing separate HS codes for Boswellia and related taxa, which will significantly enhance traceability, transparency, and monitoring of international trade. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Pakistan. I see Norway. Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Norway notes that several suggestions for revision have been proposed and would like to express our support of the establishment of an in-session drafting group to propose a revised recommendation for decision.
Thank you, Norway. And finally, I have Bahrain. Bahrain, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair.
Bahrain would like to thank the committee for its comprehensive recommendations on Boswellia species. However, we propose several key amendments. Firstly, we recommend that any future listing of Boswellia species in the CITES appendices be based on robust scientific evidence and through consultations with all range states. The decisions must reflect the latest data and consider the unique circumstances of each country. Secondly, Bahrain urged the provisions of targeted financial and technical support to range states, enabling them to undertake effectively population assessment and monitoring before any listing proposals. Thirdly, we emphasize that inclusion of species in appendices should remain, in Appendices 3 should remain voluntary, respecting the national legislations and administrative capacity of each country. In addition, we highlight the importance of involving local communities and commercial stakeholders in all management decisions. Any action taken should avoid unintended socio-economic impacts on livelihoods. Lastly, Bahrain support the amendments made by Oman and suggested by United Arab Emirates. Thank you.
Thank you, Bahrain. So now, one last speaker, then I will close the list. It's Saudi Arabia. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Since this is the first time to take the floor, I would like to thank the government of Uzbekistan for their warm hospitality and the Secretariat for working and organizing this meeting. And we'd like to take the chance to support the recommendation made by Oman. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saudi Arabia. I now open the floor to IGOs and NGOs. You have the floor. Okay, seeing none, let me try to wrap up. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I've heard the call for a drafting group. A drafting group normally is maybe 3-4 parties coming back with a consolidated set of decisions. But I have heard interest from many parties, also mainly range states. So I do think we have to strike a working group that deals with these issues. And the mandate of such a working group would be, the working group is tasked to refine the draft decisions, taking into consideration the amendments by the Secretariat and interventions made during discussions with the aim of balancing the work allocated to the Secretariat, to range states, parties, industry, and other organizations. So that would be the mandate of this working group. So parties that are interested to participate in this working group are asked to press their button now so that I have a list of parties that will be forming that working group. Okay, I have Canada, UAE, United States of America, UK, Kenya, Switzerland, Oman, Norway, Uganda, Pakistan, India, Nigeria, and Tanzania, and China. So now I open the floor to IGOs and NGOs who wish to participate. So it is IUCN, WWF, SPREP, Traffic. Now we are looking for a chair. May I ask Switzerland if they would be willing to chair this working group? I see nodding. Thank you very much. I see also Nigeria has asked to be part of the working group as a last.
Maybe we can read out the names of the working group. You want to read out the names just to make sure?
Yes. So this will be the working group on Boswellia species. As for a room and a place to meet, the Secretariat will be placing this information.
Yeah.
Okay, just to make sure that every party who wants to be part of this working group is in the working group, as we have noted. I see Denmark has also asked to join the working group, I suppose. Okay, so we have Canada, UAE, United States, UK, Kenya, Switzerland, Oman, Norway, Uganda, Pakistan, India, Nigeria, Tanzania, China, Denmark, Chad has just, and Ireland, of course. Ireland should also be there. Good. And concerning IGOs, NGOs, we have IUCN, WWF, SPREP, and Traffic. I see that there is a blank party, so I don't know who that would be.
EU.
Ah, that's the EU. Okay, that's why Ireland had to push its button. I see that. So. Okay. Concerning the place and time of venue, I give the floor to the Secretariat.
Thank you, Chair. I hope that you have all installed the app that we have for the COP. We will make the information about the venue, so the room name and the time available on the app, as well as on the screens that you might have seen in the passages. There are screens that show the what is happening during the day in terms of side events, etc. We will also include it there so that you are aware. And if we schedule the first session, we will also make an announcement in the committee room. So please look at all the available tools that you have for the notification of when the meeting will take place. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. The EU wanted to have the floor to make some clarification on the membership, I think. So EU, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the EU would like to join the working group, so that would include all of its member states should they wish to join. So yeah, so I suppose the EU will join the working group. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we adjourn the debate on document CoP20 Doc 94 on Boswellia trees until we have a report of the working group back for our consideration. So next agenda item is CoP20 Doc 95 on rosewood tree species. So the committee is invited to indicate if they support the draft decision on rosewood tree species in the annex to the document. So I open the floor for any comments on this matter. I see Canada. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada would like to commend the excellent work completed to date on this file and the production of the report and helpful fact sheets. In considering these draft decisions, we do encourage parties to consider the significant number of agenda items being put forward and the need to prioritize the work of the Secretariat and the permanent committees. Considering that these reports have only just been completed, we do not see the need for them to be refreshed. As such, we move to delete several of the draft decisions. We suggest deleting 20AA Section B, 20AA-C little I to three I's. And for clarity, Section C4 can be rewritten to say amend the title of the report instead of to consider amending the title of the report. For 20BB, we suggest to delete decision B and all of 20CC. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Canada. I see India. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India thanks the Standing Committee and the Chair, Plan Committee for the COP20 Doc 95. Pursuant to COP17, Johannesburg 2016, India had notified reservations for all Dalbergia species and had also proposed to the CITES Plant Committee 27 in 2024 to remove Dalbergia sisu from the Appendix 2, as it is listed as low priority species in the report on the conservation and trade of CITES listed rosewood tree fabaceae. Nonetheless, India would support the adoption of the draft decisions on rosewood tree species, Leguminaceae and fabaceae, as contained in the annex to COP20 Doc 95 and to delete decisions 19.243 to 19.24. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, India. I see Kenya. Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Kenya, as a range state, welcomes the continuous effort to update, prioritize, and improve CITES implementation for rosewood tree species and commends the progress made on the implementation of decisions 19.243 to 19.245. Kenya supports the focus on capacity building efforts for CITES listed rosewood tree species and welcomes aligning studies with Module 10 NDFs for tree species for improved implementation of the Convention for rosewood tree species in all range states. Chair, Kenya supports the adoption of the draft decisions on rosewood tree species contained in the annex to the present document. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kenya. I don't see any other party. I see the United States. United States, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States appreciates the work conducted intercessionally by the Plants Committee, and we are supportive of the proposed draft decisions, and we would agree that the previous decisions can be deleted. We hear Canada's concerns, and we do think, though, that since there are a number of CITES listed taxa that fall under the common name of rosewood, it would be worth having another look at this in the next intercession, and then perhaps we'll be able to let it go on its way. So as such, we would support the draft decisions aligned with India and Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. I have Nigeria. Nigeria, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You will agree with me that the Standing Committee have done a very good job on this document. And in line with the reservation of draft decision of rosewood species, decision 19.245, Nigeria is in agreement with 14A and B. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nigeria. I would now open the floor for comments from IGOs and NGOs. I see traffic. You have the floor.
Muchas gracias, presidente. Traffic apoya la adopción de los proyectos de decisión sobre las especies arbóreas de palo de rosa propuestas en el documento. El estudio desarrollado por Traffic en conjunto con la Secretaría CITES constituye un avance importante para reunir información básica y necesaria para la elaboración de NDFs para estas especies. Estamos de acuerdo en que las decisiones orienten el apoyo técnico de la Secretaría hacia las 27 especies identificadas en el estudio como de prioridad alta y media e inviten a las partes a utilizar el informe y las fichas técnicas como base para sus NDFs, así como a compartir información adicional y trabajar con el Comité de Flora para revisar y mantener actualizada la priorización y la orientación disponible. Dado que no se han propuesto nuevas especies de palo de rosa para inclusión en los apéndices, consideramos especialmente útil revisar y actualizar las fichas informativas del documento PC27-DOC 27 y reforzar su coherencia con el módulo sobre especies arbóreas de la guía de NDFs. Traffic está listo para colaborar con la Secretaría, el Comité de Flora y las partes para mantener la información actualizada, útil para apoyar a las autoridades científicas en la elaboración de NDFs sólidos que aseguren un comercio sostenible de estas especies. Muchas gracias, presidente.
Thank you, Traffic. So having heard a large majority in agreement with the draft decisions, I think this committee accepts the draft decisions on rosewood tree species Leguminosa fabacea contained in the annex to the present document, and is also in agreement to delete decisions 19243 to 19245. So with this, we move to the next agenda item, which is CoP20 Doc 98 on African tree species. The committee is invited to indicate if they support the recommendations in paragraph 8 of this document, which are as follows. Note the updated list of African tree species and associated CITES processes contained in the annex to the present document, and delete decisions 19254 to 19256. I open the floor for any comments. I see the United States. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We appreciate the opportunity to comment on document COP20 Doc 98 concerning African tree species. And, note that our intervention also applies to COP20 Doc 99 concerning neotropical tree species. We thank the contributors to these agenda items and support the recommendations of both documents. This regionally focused approach strengthens coordinated, science-based implementation of the Convention for CITES-listed tree species, particularly on core work related to non-detriment findings, legal acquisition findings, identification, and enforcement. Regional working groups have been effective for CITES-listed tree species. We note that the Plants Committee may convene such a group as needed to help address emerging issues within its existing mandate, and we encourage the committee to consider reconstituting these groups in the next intersession as needed. We also support the deletion of the fulfilled decisions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, United States. I see Kenya. Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Kenya was a member of the Africa Tree Working Species. Let me just start that. Thank you, Chair. Kenya was a member of the African Tree Species Working Group, and we support the proposed activities, which include data generation, capacity building, and enhanced implementation of the Convention for African Tree Species. We take note of the updated list of African tree species associated with CITES processes contained in the annex to the present document, and we also support deletion of decisions 19254 to 19256. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kenya. I now open the floor to AGOs and NGOs. I don't see anybody asking for the floor, so my conclusion is that the Committee 1 notes the updated list of African tree species and associated CITES processes contained in the annex to the present document, and also agrees, accepts the deletion of decisions 19254 to 19256. So with this, we move to the next agenda item, which is CoP20 Doc 99 on neotropical tree species. Here, the committee is invited to indicate if there is support for the recommendations in paragraph 12 of the document, which are to note the findings and conclusions relating to neotropical tree species contained in the annex to the present document, and delete decisions 19257 to 19260, noting that the United States has already indicated its support for these recommendations. So I open the floor for any other party. I open the floor for IGOs and NGOs. Seeing none, my conclusion is that the Committee 1 accepts to note the findings and conclusions relating to the neotropical tree species contained in the annex to the present document, and also accepts the deletion of decisions 19257 to 19260. Now we come to the document CoP20 Doc 102, considering the lookalike criterion in Annex B A of Resolution Conf 924, Rev CoP17, on criteria for the amendment of the Appendices 1 and 2. This document has been submitted by the United Kingdom, UK, so you have the floor to introduce the document.
Thank you, Chair. The United Kingdom is pleased to put forward this document on considering the lookalike criterion in Annex 2B of Resolution Conf 9.24, Rev CoP17. As parties will be well aware, distinguishing similar species in trade can be extremely challenging, and the lookalike listings remain vital for ensuring sustainable international trade and that threatened species receive the protection they require. Let me be clear, the UK fully supports the role of the lookalike listings in effective CITES implementation, and there is no intention for this document to reopen or amend the listing criteria in Resolution Conf 9.24. However, there is currently no guidance on how the criterion should be applied. This can create ambiguity with broad and subjective interpretation. This can complicate the development and assessment of listing proposals. As we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of CITES implementation, the UK considers it timely to recommend the adoption of draft decisions to initiate discussions on developing guidance for the lookalike criterion. The draft decisions invite parties to share information and experiences in applying the criterion, commission a study on its application and implementation, and compile and analyse findings. Should parties agree that guidance would be beneficial, the content, format, and location of such guidance could be determined by parties at a later stage. We hope to make the application of this criterion more transparent, effective in delivering our shared aims, proportionate and consistent. We recognise concerns about burden, which we expect to be raised throughout the COP. To this we say that the draft decisions are light touch. The estimated costs are $20,000 to $40,000 funded externally. This will not require core funds, and the Secretariat has confirmed it can be accommodated within its regular work programme. The UK extends our sincere thanks to all the CITES colleagues who provided valuable feedback and comments on earlier versions of this document. Their contributions are greatly appreciated. We welcome the Secretariat's suggested amendment and Canada's helpful addition to ensure that study considers both benefits and risks for conservation, enforcement and compliance. These changes strengthen the proposal and we support them fully. Therefore, we are proposing to amend draft decision 20.AA small b brackets small ii as follows. The conservation, administrative, regulatory, compliance and enforcement benefits and risks with respect to both the target species and the lookalike species of including or not lookalike species in Appendix 2. We have also provided these in writing to the Secretariat already. In short, this is a modest but important step to improve clarity and effectiveness in applying a criterion that underpins many listings. We invite parties to adopt the draft decisions and join us in this collaborative effort to strengthen the Convention's implementation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, UK, for the introduction to this document and also the amendments that you proposed, maybe the ones that do not have them in writing before them. So please, can you repeat the amendment once more slowly and where exactly they are located?
Certainly, Chair. We are amending draft decision 20AA small b small ii as follows. The conservation, administrative, regulatory, compliance and enforcement benefits and risks with respect to both the target species and the lookalike species of including or not lookalike species in Appendix 2.
Thank you very much. I now open the floor for comments. I see Honduras, you have the floor.
Honduras solamente quiere llamar la atención en el sentido que no tenemos traducción en español desde hace un buen rato. Ahora sí.
Thank you, Honduras. Glad you are with us again. So I now open the floor to Canada. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada is supportive of this document and the draft decisions for parties to submit information. We also support the study to further understand the benefits and consequences of lookalike listings. With respect to draft decision 20AA, Canada appreciates the CITES Secretariat's addition of risks and also supports the UK suggested amendment that is just being presented. Canada sees this as an opportunity to learn about various experiences in determining lookalike species and ensuring efficient implementation of CITES. We are seeing an increasing number of lookalike rationales and so support discussions on how to effectively implement the existing criteria and guidance. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Canada. I see the Russian Federation. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm glad that the Russian language is now official language of the meeting, so I will give my main presentation in Russian. But if it will be not clear, please let me know, and I will comment it directly in English. Мы поддерживаем дальнейшее рассмотрение вопроса о включении видов двойников в приложение CITES. При этом подчеркиваем важность аккуратного и научно обоснованного подхода с учетом особенностей различных таксономических групп. В этой связи было бы полезно разработать руководство, дополненное практическими примерами по ключевым модельным группам. Что я имею в виду? Например, когда мы имеем дело с амфибиями или рыбами, где достаточно много видов двойников, слабо различающихся морфологическими, при этом один из этих видов подлежит охране, а другой является обычным и широко распространенным. Или хищные птицы и крупные млекопитающие, где видов двойников нет совсем или их очень много. Таким образом, существует большая разница подхода к проблеме вида двойника в различных систематических группах животных, а далее, возможно, это будет распространено и на растения. То есть, прежде чем перейти к узакониванию этого подхода, нужно установить какой-то период времени, в ходе которого будут проверены основные положения этого вносимого изменения и научно аргументированы к дальнейшему использованию. Спасибо.
Thank you, Russia. I will now open the floor to India. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India complement the efforts of United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland for CoP20 document 102 and support the draft decision contained in paragraph 11 of Doc 102. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, India. That was short. I like that very much. So next on the list is Republic of Korea. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Republic of Korea thanks the United Kingdom for preparing an important document on Annex 2BA of Legislation Conf 9.24 Lab CoP17. Korea shares the concern regarding the lack of clarity in this criterion, and this increasing implementation burden it creates for parties. Although we fully recognize the essential role of the look-alike criterion in supporting the objective of the convention, particularly in managing identification, challenging species, and preventing illegal trade. However, we note that many proposals at this COP, including those concerning illegal species, rely heavily on this look-alike criterion. This trend suggests that a more refined assessment is needed to ensure proportionality between regulatory capacity and actual compensation benefits. For this reason, Korea sees the value in undertaking a structured review of the current application of the look-alike criteria. Such a review should include the actual trade volumes, conservation status, and population trends, the potential for laundering through non-listed species, and the necessity of precautionary measures. In this context, the Republic of Korea supports the adoption of the draft decision amended by the United Kingdom in the intervention. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Republic of Korea. And now see Cameroon. You have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Cameroun se joint au précédent orateur pour saluer l'initiative de la Grande-Bretagne qui vient à point nommé parce qu'elle vient adresser une problématique très pertinente en ce qui concerne le contrôle, l'identification et la traçabilité de nos produits au niveau du commerce international. Et pour ce faire, nous allons approuver le projet de décision tel qu'amendé et nous souhaitons pouvoir participer à cette étude pour le partage d'expérience. Je vous remercie.
Merci le Cameroun pour cette intervention. La next on the list is Australia. Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Australia thanks the United Kingdom for submitting Agenda Item 102 and agrees guidance on the lookalike criterion is needed. We therefore support the draft decisions as amended by the United Kingdom. To assist the Secretariat in gathering information necessary for the study called for under Decision 20.AA(b), we propose an additional decision directed to parties. This decision would be worded: parties are requested to respond to the notification published under 20.AA(a). Thank you, Chair.
Australia, can I have that a second time?
Yep. So the new decision would be: parties are requested to respond to the notification published under 20.AA(a).
Thank you. Next one on the list is Gabon. Gabon, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Comme c'est la première fois que le Gabon prend la parole dans ce comité, je voudrais commencer par remercier les autorités et le peuple ouzbek pour leur accueil chaleureux et saluer votre présidence de ce comité pour votre conduite avisée de nos travaux. Le Gabon remercie également le Royaume-Uni pour sa proposition qui met en lumière les difficultés pratiques liées à l'application du critère de ressemblance dans la résolution CONF 9/24. Nous partageons le constat selon lequel ce critère, en l'absence de lignes directrices précises, a parfois conduit à des inscriptions très larges, mobilisant des ressources administratives importantes sans bénéfice clairement établi pour la conservation des espèces concernées. Aussi, pour les autorités CITES, notamment dans les pays en développement, il est essentiel de pouvoir concentrer les efforts et les capacités sur les espèces et les flux qui présentent des réels risques de commerce non durable ou de blanchiment. Le Gabon reconnaît l'intérêt d'examiner le critère de ressemblance, mais souligne la nécessité d'éviter son utilisation systématique. L'étude envisagée doit clarifier et mieux encadrer ce critère afin qu'il reste cohérent avec les objectifs de la CITES sans générer de contraintes administratives excessives. Nous notons que ce travail bénéficie de ressources extra-budgétaires et n'entraîne aucune charge additionnelle pour le fonds fiduciaire principal. Dans ce cadre, le Gabon se tient prêt à appuyer les projets de décision et à contribuer activement à la réflexion afin que les orientations futures traduisent fidèlement les besoins réels de conservation et de gestion durable. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Gabon. Next on the list is European Union. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair.
I speak on behalf of the European Union and its member states. We would like to thank the United Kingdom for the work done on the preparation of this document. We do not see a need for general guidance on the topic and consider that Resolution Conf 9.24 provides sufficient information on this matter. Moreover, the proposed procedure and development of guidance would tie up additional resources from parties, committees, and the Secretariat. Taking the workload of the Secretariat into account, we do not think that the work proposed in the document should be prioritized. Therefore, we cannot support the recommendations proposed in the document. However, understanding the spirit in the room and having heard previous parties, we would suggest that the issue of the lookalike criterion be discussed further in the Animals and Plants Committees before any process to create guidance is begun. This is quite a usual procedure to first go to the technical committees. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. I now have China. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. China thanks UK for the preparation of this document. We share the same concern with UK and support the drafted decisions in the document to develop guidance to help ensure the scope of listings in the future are appropriate and for effective implementation of the Convention. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, China. I now have Colombia. Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Quisiera mencionar dos cosas inicialmente y pido disculpas por si retrasamos un poco la discusión, tomando en cuenta que no hubo traducción al español. Solicitamos muy amablemente nos puedan repetir las sugerencias y las inclusiones nuevas que desde el Reino Unido se quieren hacer. Y de otra parte, y agradeciendo justamente este documento que el Reino Unido trae a colación y que eleva justamente un tema crítico sobre la implementación de un criterio que no tiene elementos, agradecemos y apoyamos el documento. Gracias.
Thank you, Colombia. I forgot to ask whenever we had that glitch whether you had been able, the Spanish-speaking parties had been able to hear the changes proposed by the UK, so that does not seem to have been the case. So I would like to ask the UK to once more slowly read out the changes and indicate exactly where those changes have been made, so that all the Spanish-speaking parties can hear that as well as all others have done so far. So UK, you have the floor.
Yes, of course, certainly, Chair. I'd just like to make it clear to the Spanish speakers that the UK had accepted the Secretariat's amendments, and we were then proposing one small amendment to draft decision 20 AAB bracket small II bracket as follows. It should now read the conservation, administrative, regulatory, compliance and enforcement benefits and risks with respect to both the target species and the lookalike species of including or not lookalike species in Appendix 2.
Thank you, UK. I have now Japan. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Japan expresses its appreciation to the UK to prepare this document. We support the recommendation in the document. In recent COPs, many species have been included in Sub-Appendix 2 because of similarity with other species. In this COP, a considerable number of species have been proposed to be included as lookalike. Japan believes that many of these species listed or proposed to be listed as lookalike species do not necessarily require regulations under CITES. We consider that absence of clear guidance about application of lookalike criteria might be causing this. For example, the listing of blue shark decided at CoP19 have already heavily workload Management Authority of Japan and negatively affected the domestic implementation of the convention, even though its stock status has been assessed healthy by regional fisheries management organizations. Japan is seriously concerned about abuse of lookalike listing criteria, such as the case of the blue shark. The abuse of lookalike criteria unnecessarily increase the burden of parties as well as of the Secretariat, eventually could end up jeopardizing the conservation effort for the species that truly in need of protection and conservation. We consider it would be desirable if a new mechanism to delete species from Appendix 2 is developed by revising Conf 14.8 COP 19 if the case study is in accordance with the decision 20.AA concluded that a CITES listing gave no conservation benefit for both target species and the lookalike species. Japan firmly believes that CITES should focus more on the conservation of endangered species as the convention to conserve and protect endangered species threatened by international trade. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Japan. I now have Tanzania.
Thank you, Chair. The United Republic of Tanzania commends the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland for preparing this very important document. United Republic of Tanzania recognizes the importance of the lookalike criterion in preventing illicit trade and protecting listed species, but also share concerns that evaluating may lead to unfair and excessive listing. Therefore, development of clear, science-based guidance and case studies to ensure that the criterion applied is consistently transparent and only when necessary to achieve genuine conservation outcome is of utmost important. United Republic of Tanzania supports the recommendation contained in paragraph 11 to the present document and amends made by Secretariat to provide more clarity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tanzania. I now open the floor to Indonesia.
Thank you, Chair. Indonesia supports the adoption of the draft decision. A review of the application of the lookalike criterion is timely and necessary to ensure that CITES listings remain accurate, proportionate, and effective. We share the concern that the current use of the lookalike criterion often results in unnecessary listings, particularly in aquatic species, including those that are not threatened and do not require trade regulation. This is evident in Proposal number 35 of Anguilla SPP and Proposal number 36 of Actinopic SPP. Indonesia therefore emphasizes that any further use of the lookalike criterion must be rigorously justified by a detailed, species-specific evaluation of conservation status, utilization pressure, and economic impact, supported by risk-based analysis of misidentification and laundering threats. We welcome the Secretariat's recommendation to include risk to both target and lookalike species in the proposed study, as this will provide a more balanced and evidence-based framework. We also support the involvement of the Animal and Plants Committees and the Standing Committee in developing practical guidance to ensure consistency, transparency, and proportionality in future listing proposals. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Indonesia. I hear mainly strong support for this initiative. So if you also are in support of this, then please state it briefly. I think we all have understood the importance of this matter, and I would like to ask you to be brief in your statements now. I see the United States, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States opposes the proposed draft decisions concerning the interpretation and implementation of Criterion A of Annex 2B of Resolution COP 9.24 of COP17 on lookalike species. While we recognize the intent behind the document to provide additional guidance while potentially reducing burdens, we have several concerns regarding the complexity of the issue and the limited benefit from undertaking a burdensome additional process at this time based on the information currently available. Furthermore, from an enforcement standpoint, lookalike listings are generally beneficial in reducing burden as they simplify identification and reduce the need for specialized taxonomic expertise. Supporting the needs of enforcement and custom personnel should be a key consideration in any future work in this issue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, United States. I now have DRC. DRC, you have the floor.
La République du Congo remercie d'abord le gouvernement ouzbek et son peuple pour l'accueil chaleureux qui nous a été réservé. Et nous reconnaissons également le travail qui a été mené par la Grande-Bretagne et l'Irlande pour cette proposition. À cet effet, nous soutenons cette recommandation 11 de la résolution conf.9.4. Nous vous remercions.
Thank you, DRC. Mexico, you have the floor.
Sí, gracias, señor presidente. México agradece el documento y apoya los borradores de decisión con las enmiendas del Reino Unido. Con respecto a la propuesta de decisión adicional propuesta por Australia, no estamos seguros de que sea necesaria. A lo mejor la Secretaría puede aclarar si es necesaria una decisión en donde se le pide a las partes responder a una notificación que está cubierta por uno de los borradores. Y nos gustaría estar seguros sobre el comentario de la Unión Europea, donde comentaban que si se mantienen los borradores, estarían interesados en que sean analizados los resultados por los comités de flora y fauna. Vemos que eso podría estar cubierto en el inciso C de la decisión 20AA. Solo tener claro si propondrán algo adicional o con eso está cubierto esa inquietud. Gracias.
Thank you, Mexico. Now I would like to give the floor to Panama. Panama, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Panamá quisiera, en este tema del criterio de semejanza, apoyar lo que ha dicho ya la Unión Europea y Estados Unidos. El criterio de similitud del artículo 2 y el anexo 2B de la resolución CONF 9.24 es una herramienta esencial para la implementación efectiva de las CITES, garantiza que los funcionarios encargados de hacer cumplir la ley puedan prevenir el blanqueo y la identificación errónea al incluir especies indistinguibles de las ya incluidas. Debilitar o reabrir este criterio, como sugiere el documento 102, corre el riesgo de socavar una de las salvaguardas fundamentales de la Convención. El documento no proporciona evidencia clara de que las inclusiones de especies similares hayan afectado negativamente la conservación o la gestión. Por el contrario, simplifican la aplicación de la ley en las fronteras al reducir la dependencia de la identificación por expertos. Las inclusiones de especies similares hacen operativo el principio precautorio. Esperar a que las especies similares estén en declive para protegerlas socavaría el enfoque preventivo fundamental de las CITES. Las afirmaciones de una carga considerable no están respaldadas por datos. Además, los costos de emitir permisos y realizar DNP son mínimos en comparación con los riesgos de blanqueo si se excluyeran dichas especies. Encargar nuevos estudios, directrices y procesos consumiría recursos de la Secretaría y del Comité, que deberían destinarse a apoyar a las partes en tareas fundamentales de implementación como los DNP, RCS y la lucha contra el comercio ilegal. Considerar las listas similares menos rigurosas o adoptar un enfoque basado en el riesgo podría fomentar las iniciativas de inclusión y el desmantelamiento de las listas de taxones superiores, lo que debilitaría la protección de las CITES para grupos enteros de especies. Muchísimas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Panama. I now have Israel. Israel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We realize that the lookalike criteria is actually controversial. We've actually used it in listing proposals with the main intent to make it easier on border control, the exact opposite of what Japan was stating. In other words, it's much easier for a border control person to identify a group or a larger, higher taxon of species than to have to do the identification down to a very specific level to see if the specimen that's in trade is actually one species or another that looks very similar. So the general idea is to try to make things easier. While that's the general intent, we can understand that perhaps new guidance might be necessary to help sharpen the use of the lookalike criterion, and we would therefore concur and agree with the EU that this could be proposed for first examination by the Animals and Plants Committee, and to look at the necessary, if it's necessary, to try and move on to other kinds of adaptations. Personally, we're very afraid and reticent about touching the criteria that are in Resolution 9.24. In our opinion, they've stood the test of time for many, many years and have really helped this convention in getting proper listings of species. So we would hope that there would not be any kind of changes to those listing criteria, but we could understand the need for a study, and as was stated by EU, US, Panama, and the 27 member states of the EU, we feel that this could be done, if it's done first, by the technical committees and not as a large process as opposed in the resolution, in the decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Israel. Thank you. I think we can now go on to DRC, because before I was informed that there had been a swap of cards between DRC and Congo, so the intervention before was Congo, now we have DRC. So DRC, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous vous remercions pour nous avoir accordé la parole pour la première fois de cette assemblée du comité numéro 1. Et la République démocratique du Congo soutient la proposition émise par la Grande-Bretagne telle qu'est présentée en ce qui concerne la ressemblance entre ces espèces. Et nous voudrions souligner que nous adhérons à la proposition des collègues, par exemple du Gabon, qui se met tout en état à la disposition pour l'aboutissement de cette étude à mener. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, DRC. I have now the Comores. Comoros.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Au nom du gouvernement de l'Union de commerce, nous souhaitons vraiment les efforts qui ont été faits par ce pays en nous accueillant. Donc, l'Union de commerce souhaitait appuyer sur l'intervention de l'Union européenne, aussi des États-Unis, mais aussi du Panama. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Comoros. In this regard, I would like to come back quickly to the EU to understand what actually, I mean, if we direct the Animals Committee and Plants Committee to look at this issue, so what would they be looking at? I mean, the way it is written now, the Secretariat would initiate a study, first a notification, then analyze this information, provide a study, and then the Animals, Plants and Standing Committee would be looking at this information. Because if you say we want to send it directly to the Animals Committee and Plants Committee, I wouldn't know what to send to them if there is not some substance around this matter to look at. So I would like to have some clarification from the EU what you would then send to the Animals and Plants Committee. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. It could look like the following. I'm reading out draft decisions. Directed to the Animals and Plants Committees, 20 AA, the Animals and Plants Committees shall consider CoP20 Doc 102 to make recommendations for consideration to the Standing Committee as appropriate. Directed to the Standing Committee, 20 BB, the Standing Committee shall consider the recommendations of the Animals and Plants Committees as in 20 AA and shall submit recommendations for consideration to the 21st meeting of the Conference of the Parties. I can read out again if you want. We can also send.
Thank you. I think it would be good if you would read it out a second time, so for everyone to be able to catch this.
I will do now. Directed to the Animals and Plants Committees, 20 AA, the Animals and Plants Committees shall consider CoP20 Doc 102 and make recommendations for consideration to the Standing Committee as appropriate. Directed to the Standing Committee, 20 BB, the Standing Committee shall consider the recommendations of the Animals and Plants Committees as in 20 AA and shall submit recommendations for consideration to the 21st meeting of the Conference of the Parties.
Thank you, European Union. Okay, I understood that. Maybe I will then, at a later stage, go back to the UK to see their reaction to the proposed amendment or to the new draft decision proposed by the European Union. For the moment, I would like to give the floor to some more parties and then come back to the EU on that matter. So, Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As the US, EU, Panama, Comoros have said, Brazil believes that Resolution 9.24 has enough information for the application of lookalike criterion, which for us is essential for the effective implementation of the convention. It helps our enforcement authorities and remove administrative burden for us. In this sense, Brazil very much aligns with the proposal from the EU on trying to discuss this in more technical terms before making a more general discussion here in this type of forum. So we would prefer to send this to the technical committees of the convention so that they can discuss it in technical terms, so that we would receive in the standing committees some more of recommendations from these committees. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I see the Russian Federation a second time. Russia.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to be precise in the paragraph 20AA, subparagraph B and subparagraph I. So I would like to add to this sentence the following information or the rule. So the list of species which could be included should be expertised by the taxonomist on the separate groups. Only after that it may be discussed and included in the official list. But I agree also that this question is complicated and probably should be discussed more on the working group before make any decision in the animal committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Russian Federation. I didn't quite capture the wording you wanted to have in 20AA, letter B, I. So what wording would you want to introduce and where?
I just want to add this sentence, that the list with the species, according to this criterion, should be analyzed and confirmed by the taxonomical expertise. Thank you.
We are not. Just as a response to Russia, the process would be that in this study, that we would look at proposals that have been submitted already, and these usually are already analyzed by the nomenclature specialists of plants or animals. So this work is usually done when proposals are being submitted. So this work would already have been done. So it should be the correct nomenclature if we look at these cases. Okay, now I open the floor to Argentina.
Gracias, señor presidente. Queremos manifestar que estamos en un todo de acuerdo con Panamá, Brasil y otros estados que han opinado como ellos. Hay grupos taxonómicos donde es muy difícil implementar propuestas sin utilizar estos criterios. Las autoridades de observancia, por ejemplo, en estos casos no pueden actuar, o los procesos judiciales que se generan ante incautaciones caen ante la imposibilidad de reconocimiento de especies. Coincidimos con Brasil, además, que la resolución 924 aclara muy bien este tema, pero queremos señalar también que estos criterios deben utilizarse con mucha prudencia ante la elaboración de propuestas. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Argentina. Next is Senegal. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. C'est la première fois que le Sénégal prend la parole. Donc on profite de cette occasion pour remercier le gouvernement d'Ouzbékistan pour l'accueil chaleureux, également pour le secrétariat pour cette excellente organisation. Cela dit, nous pensons que la proposition de l'Union européenne pourrait constituer un bon compromis pour aller de l'avant. Et nous pensons également que, comme l'a dit si bien le Panama et d'autres qui nous ont précédés, que l'inscription des espèces ressemblantes est essentielle pour garantir une bonne mise en œuvre et l'application de la CITES. Cette proposition d'amendement a été plusieurs fois rejetée par les États, et donc nous pensons que pour certaines espèces, il est essentiel d'utiliser ces critères pour une bonne application de la CITES. Merci.
Thank you, Senegal. I see the United States.
Thank you, Chair. The United States still doesn't feel like this is the best use of time. However, we can support the EU's position moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, to give me the second chance. China want to echo Mexico that we think the previous decisions revised by the UK during the intervention is more reasonable, and we do not support the EU's decisions, the new decisions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, China. Colombia.
Gracias, señor presidente. Queremos llamar la atención a considerar que este documento no pretende eliminar el criterio de lookalike, sino pretende discutir y ahondar en consideraciones sobre este mismo criterio para dar claridad justamente a las partes de cómo implementarlo, pues a veces resulta siendo subjetivo. Y como lo ha señalado la presidencia, las consideraciones se presentarían a los comités técnicos de fauna y flora una vez se hayan abordado temas como el estudio que se está pretendiendo generar aquí. Queremos en ese sentido también solicitar a la Unión Europea nos dé claridad sobre si la propuesta que ellos están planteando pretende eliminar todo el proyecto de decisión 20AA, donde se incluye justamente la generación de un estudio en donde se abordarían justamente las cuestiones técnicas o las limitaciones y los retos que tiene el criterio de lookalike. En ese sentido, Colombia sigue apoyando el espacio y la oportunidad para abrir la discusión a este tema, nuevamente reiterando que lo que se pretende no es eliminar el criterio de lookalike, sino poder dar unos lineamientos más claros. Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you. Now I have Honduras.
Honduras entiende la importancia del criterio de similitud y apoya los comentarios de los países que me precedieron. Entendemos también que para hacer una buena práctica de esto es algo muy importante la capacitación, sobre todo en puestos fronterizos. El personal de aduanas no llega a tener la capacidad de distinguir, para el caso entre, por ejemplo, renacuajos o, por ejemplo, juveniles de gavilanes o halcones o águilas. Se necesita mucha capacidad para esto.
Now I have St. Lucia. St. Lucia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And since this is the first time, Chair, that St. Lucia is taking the floor, St. Lucia would like to thank the government and people of Uzbekistan for hosting this important meeting in this historic city. St. Lucia would also like to thank the Secretariat for the organization of this important meeting. Certainly, Chair, St. Lucia would like to thank the UK for the preparation of this document. While we support efforts towards the conservation of species as appropriate, we are not able, Chair, to support the proposal as presented. While we understand that there may be some value in the use of the lookalike criterion, we do not believe that at this time quite a bit of effort should be placed on further discussion in this committee. Therefore, we would like to support any further deliberation of this approach by the Animals and Plants Committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now, as I have Gabon.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous prenons de nouveau la parole juste pour rappeler que le Gabon adhère à la résolution COP 9.24, REV COP 17. Nous sommes conscients que le critère de ressemblance est un critère important pour les principes de la CITES. Mais il convient à ce stade-là de pouvoir avoir des éclaircissements sur l'application de la CITES. Aussi, la proposition 20AA, telle que proposée par une notification invitant les parties à soumettre des informations sur leur interprétation du critère A, tel que proposé par le Royaume-Uni, serait important. Aussi, nous soutenons également les propos de la Colombie à cet effet. Donc, pour résumer, le Gabon souhaite que l'on adopte les propositions du document présenté par le Royaume-Uni. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Gabon. Finally, I have Russian Federation for a short intervention. Russian Federation.
Thank you very much, Chair, for giving floor to Russia so often. Sure, I would like to thank you and thank you this discussion. And my comment is that the nomenclature specialist is not the same as taxonomical specialist on a separate group. So, for sure, the species list is readied and prepared by nomenclature specialist, but it would be better to have a taxonomic expertise on every group discussed. So I would suggest to nomenclature specialists to ask for such an expertise in every concrete case of the group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Russia. The way I understood the work of our nomenclature specialist, he usually does not the work all by himself. he often reaches out to other experts when he is not very comfortable with a specific group. So I do think this is part of his normal work that he does that. So I don't think we need to add this in because it's clear that this is part of his daily work. Okay, now I would like to go back to the UK. We have, before going to the UK, we have heard some support for the initial decisions as contained in the document. We have heard an additional decision submitted by Australia. We also have new decisions proposed by the EU. So I would like now to go back to the UK to see what they, as initiator of this process, think about what we have heard and see if they have a proposal for a way forward. UK, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for all the parties who've participated in this conversation. And that's exactly what we were hoping to achieve by introducing these decisions, is to have a conversation amongst us about our experiences and whether or not we think guidelines are necessary in this area. It's not been our intention to undermine the lookalike criteria. We see it as a very effective tool for CITES and a very important one for enforcement. So at the moment, I'm a little bit uncertain as to what it is the EU proposals would be putting to the Animals and Plants committees. Therefore, we see that there is enormous value in the notification going ahead and to have then case studies so that there is something concrete that the Animals and Plants committees and then subsequently the Standing Committee can actually consider. So at the moment, without the notification and the case studies, I'm struggling a little bit to understand what the EU think will be discussed at those committees. So I would very firmly like to see, and I've heard support for those notifications and that case study going ahead from many parties, so I would be keen to understand why there is a problem with that happening if we expect the Animals and Plants committees and Standing committees to have a conversation. Let's make sure it's a conversation that's based on evidence and some experience, and that's what the case study would achieve. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, UK. As former chair of the Animals Committee, I understand where you are coming from. The committees need to have something to chew on, to work on. So, but maybe a concern that I have heard is the letter C in 20AA, because in addition to compiling the information received by the parties and the study, the Secretariat is also asked to provide a summary together with any observation and recommendations for guidance. Maybe this part is something that the Animals and Plants Committee should be doing instead of the Secretariat. I don't know if that is the concern we have been hearing, but from my experience, it is important for the scientific committees to have really some material to look at, because the way it would be now, it would be to have the document that we have before us for the committees to look at, and I don't really see very much material for the scientific committees to work with. So I'm asking the EU whether if we reduce the scope of 20AA, if they would be happy, or if they just want the scientific committees to look at the document in front of us. So EU, you have the floor.
Of the information. Yeah. Thank you, Chair. As we said before, and echoing what others have said, like the US, we believe that this is rather time-consuming, but we understand that there is the need for some parties to do so, so we will not stand in the way of a compromise. Looking at 20AA as suggested in the UK document. We could agree with 20AA little a. We oppose, we don't want to see a study already done, so we oppose little b. And on little c, as you said, we have concerns. I would like to see a guidance being pre-produced, so a compilation of the information that has that the Secretariat has received as response to the notification would be sufficient.
Thank you, EU. So we would have 20AA with A remaining the way it is, B eliminated, and C would then read, compile the information received from parties under 20AA, A, little a, and provide a summary for consideration by the Standing Committee and Animals and Plants Committee, full stop. So that would be a proposal to have some sort of compromise. I can read it out again. So we would have decision 20AA, the Secretariat shall. We would leave 20A with the notification. We would strike out letter B, and the new letter B would then be compile the information received from parties under 20AA little a and provide a summary for consideration by the Standing Committee and Animals and Plants Committees. And we still would have decision 20BB and 20CC. That would be a compromise solution, and I'm putting this up for your consideration. I see the UK. UK, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We welcome your attempt to make a compromise, but I would just point out that at the moment, little b is subject to external funding, and we would like to emphasise that point, and so we don't really see the harm in that remaining. Otherwise, we're welcome to accept the amendments to refine the scope.
If we retain B, then there is not very much changed. There wouldn't be very much change to letter C. Well, I would like to ask other parties who have been opposing the original version and here and supporting the EU version what they think about the compromise. I see United States. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We support the EU's position moving forward.
I'm not quite clear. So are you in support of the original EU proposal or the compromise proposal that the EU has accepted?
Sorry, I'll clarify. We support what they just proposed and deleting little b from 20AA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I see Canada.
Thank you, Chair. we're not in a position to support this compromise solution. Unfortunately, we'd like to retain the study in particular, so we would oppose that change. Thank you.
I see Israel. Israel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We still, like Canada, don't support the study, but in the spirit of cooperation, and we could live with the EU compromise. Thank you.
Thank you, Israel. I see China.
Thank you, Chair. We want to echo Canada that we don't accept the compromised one, but we prefer the UK's revised decisions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I see that we will not reach a consensus here, so I would like to go to the UK to see if they want to go for a vote on their proposal as it is in the document. So, UK, what is your position on this?
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for the delay in coming back to you on that question. I don't think we would want to push this to a vote. I think there is room here for us to be able to reach a compromise. As I said, we did believe that the undertaking of a case study that was subject to external funding was something that might be, as it is external to the external funding, nice to have, but if that's not going to be possible to get agreement on, whilst we see that it complements the notification, we are willing to let that go, and so it would be the compromise of A and C as amended, if that's acceptable to others. Thank you.
Thank you, UK. I see New Zealand. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. From many years' experience on the Animals Committee, you'll probably agree that having focused information coming to the committees to consider is very valuable to save us time. And given the broad range of perspectives that we've heard here today, I think the results from the notification to the party will be very varied and will be difficult for the Secretariat to compile without some case studies which I think would help focus opinion and discussion in Animals and Plants Committees and later at the Standing Committee. And so even though the United Kingdom has offered a compromise, I suppose I support their original position, but just simply for the work of the scientific committees and the Standing Committee in the future. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, New Zealand. I see Japan. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We think that case studies are quite beneficial and important, and we need guidance as well. It will be quite helpful, and it will be funded by external funding. It does not affect any core budget of the Secretariat. So I think we still support United Kingdom, and we think small b must be retained because they are quite beneficial, and we need further discussion on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. I see Israel. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We're a little concerned about where all this information will be compiled for the study. The way it's written in the draft decision, it's only directed to the parties to submit information, and we would like to see the study being conducted to collect information from other sources too, outside of just the information it receives from the parties. So perhaps allow observer organizations to submit information, or that the study would also take into account not just the notification, but case studies and also information from observers. Thank you.
Okay, I think we will not reach a conclusion tonight. There is too much unclear also for us. So what I would propose is that we adjourn the debate to tomorrow, and I hope it will give the parties who are not in agreement with each other time to discuss and to see if they can find a common ground. And so we will reopen the debate tomorrow morning, and I hope you will have had an evening and a night to reflect on this and come up with a compromise between each other. So I encourage you to do that. Do we have any housekeeping announcements? Okay, Secretariat. So the debate on this topic is adjourned until tomorrow.
Thank you, Chair. Just before you close the session, some housekeeping. As I mentioned, at 5 o'clock in Lawn Orchid Room, there will be a meeting of the Credentials Committee. And immediately after that, at 5:15, the Bureau will be meeting in the same room. So please, 5 o'clock, the Credentials Committee, and 5:15, the Bureau will meet in Lawn Orchid. Thank you.
Thank you. So I close today's session. Have a nice evening and use it wisely. Thank you very much.